All right, Jules, let's get into this some more. But first, just give us a flavor a little bit, because I was only watching on television. The two sets of fans, I'm assuming, I mean, it's great to have the fans back, obviously.
Yeah.
But part of the fun is the banter, the songs. What were they giving each other?
Yeah, so City fans started early, to be fair to them, by singing Harry Kane, he wants to wear blue, which you kind of expected.
Moving to Leicester.
Yeah, or another team in blue, like, I don't know, Atalanta. And Spurs fans took a bit of time to react and to respond. And then towards the end of the game, when they knew that they had won, they sang singing, "Are you watching Harry Kane? Are you watching Harry Kane?" What was also funny is that, you know, the Kane song from Spurs fans is "He's one of our own, Harry Kane." And now, almost, I think, to make a point, they were singing it to Japhet Tanganga. He's one of our own. Well, I mean,
at least it wasn't Oliver Skip.
I mean, you know, it's good for Tanganga that he's got his song, but it's no Harry Kane, let's be honest.
Okay, so you've obviously, maybe I'm just more cynical than you are. I don't know about these conversations that happened between his brothers, also his agent, Charlie Kane, and Daniel Levy, what they said. I do know that there is a reality that when it comes to promises made and stuff like that, there's a background of relevance, right? You brought up Cristiano Ronaldo before, and the promise of, well, a year from now, 100 million, blah, blah,
Jack
blah.
Grealish as well, if you want to take a more recent example.
Well, no, that's a bit different.
What is the difference?
Well, because thankfully, this is one situation where, and I have to tip my hat to Christian Perslow.
I do too.
I sometimes disagree with some of the things that you did when you were at Liverpool.
Yeah.
But he came out, he laid everything out clearly.
Yeah.
He had an agreement. He had a clause.
But this release clause doesn't exist in English football, right?
You know what? That's not true, because you can sign you can sign private paperwork for a release clause. It's not saying it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It does exist.
Legally,
legally you can do it.
So Grealish could not have left for 80 million. It had to be 100 million.
No, he could have.
Okay, so that's what I mean.
No. 100 million is a price at which you have to release somebody.
Yeah.
Or in this case, to take the Grealish example, 100 million, they have to release him. But they can sell him for less, obviously, if they choose to sell him for less.
Yeah.
Right. Or if he doesn't want to exercise his clause, they could even sell him for more. So it works both ways. But that is a minimum, right? That's in the player's favor.
Right, but that's not in his contract.
In Grealish's contract.
Yeah. When
I didn't read Grealish's contract, but I heard what Perslow said.
Yeah.
And it sounded to me like this was very, very clear. Also, I think 100 million is a more than fair price for Jack Grealish.
I think that it was that amount because they never thought anyone would pay that. Over
to Kane, though, I think the difference is he signed a 6-year deal. So there's a background. The thing with Cristiano was when he was at Real Madrid, he was phenomenal. He was earning an enormous amount of money. There was a weight on the team. There was an impact on the team, which Florentino, rightly or wrongly, felt was probably negative. He probably had a sense that if we don't cash in now, it's going to be harder to cash in later. He's getting older, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so against that background, it's not necessarily difficult to do the give me one more year thing.
No, but
right?
Fergie did it with him at United. Give us one more year and then you go to Real Madrid. And I know he was younger than Kane, but he's still similar.
That's fine. And that was also a big fee, and that was also Cristiano Ronaldo, and that was also keeping George Mendes happy as well. I mean, there's a lot of things, right?
Yeah, of course. Always.
You agree. George Mendes coming in and saying, well, we had this deal, as opposed to Charlie Kane, who I believe represents nobody apart from his brother and possibly his kids. It's a completely different landscape. There is a reality here, and there's a reality which is Daniel Levy's track record as well. Look at the Luka Modric case, for example, right? A few years ago.
Gareth
Bale, another one.
Yeah.
So, I look at this and I say, at some point, if you're going to make this happen, you really have to turn into the bad guy. And I don't see Harry Kane as a bad guy. You have to turn into a bad guy, meaning you have to refuse to play and train and so on.
Well, arriving late to training is a start.
That's fine. Yeah. And then you go on strike. That's the next step, right? But I look at it, I ask myself, and maybe it's just the fan in me, and not the Spurs fan, but just the general fan. I'm like, for what? To go to Manchester City and win things as a passenger? Because that's what's going to happen.
What kind of passenger? He's going to be a star.
You're joining a team that's already won everything, right? And they win the Champions League, but
that's big teams for you, though. So what? Lukaku goes to Chelsea as a passenger.
Well, I think Lukaku's a little bit different because.
But they've won the Champions League.
Right. Well, Lukaku was his team. I don't think Lukaku necessarily would have gone if the club hadn't pushed him out the door. I know what he said.
I know.
And we'll get into that later. But I think here it's a different situation. And I'll go further. This is the bizarre thing, right? I think given Harry Kane's age, it makes zero sense. I mean, 100 million, 130 million, whatever the number is. I don't think it makes sense for Manchester City unless you really want to adopt sort of a short-term view.
But Pep is only thinking about the short term, surely.
Yeah, and that's one of the dysfunctions, I think, in football.
Yeah,
when managers have too much power and managers make decisions. But I don't know. I'll be curious how this ends up. I mean, maybe I'm naive.
No. I think you make good points. I just think that, okay, Grealish had a release clause that was signed by both parties, and Villa really thought no one would come and pay that money, so we
didn't think he was going to be this good, this quick. Yeah.
True. And I know there's a big difference between signing a release clause contract and not. But again, if you had a meeting where Daniel Levy and people at Spurs tell you, okay, next year you can go, we'll let you go for all the services that you give to this club, or whatever kind of agreement they had, or I just think it's a bit harsh now that if that offer comes, if the offer doesn't come, no problem. The agreement or the word that they had was if the right offer comes, and that could be 130 or 120 or whatever million.
Could be 500 million in Levy's
we'll
mind.
Let you go.
Right?
Yeah,
but this is the absurdity.
You know.
If you don't put a number on it, right?
No, I agree with you.
This is what gets me, right? And I go back to what I said before, right? Charlie Kane, George Mendes, Mino Raiola, these guys have a billion clients, right? Yeah. If they feel that a club is going to screw them over, right, they can make you pay later on.
Yeah, they've
and
got
pay
leverage.
through the nose.
Yeah, for sure.
Charlie Kane doesn't. And the guy he's assisting has a 6-year deal. All the leverage is with Spurs.
Yeah, no, of course.
That said,
the big mistake was that 6-year contract that was signed before Charlie Kane looked after his brother, his former agent.
There's a mistake. I think Harry Kane signed that contract thinking he was going to spend his entire career at Spurs, and Spurs were going to win things.
Okay, but 6 years at 25 years old is a long contract.
Basically,
you have to be pretty sure that you're going to actually be in that position of winning stuff.
It also means you're not going to get a raise. Imagine if he had signed a 4-year contract with the seasons he had. He could have probably gotten a raise or a move or whatever. I mean,
and he would only be 1 year away from the end of his contract, right?
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.